Hello and welcome in this Workspace Guru video tutorial. In this tutorial I will show you how to create a basic microapp. Microapps allow you to create a GUI for your end users from an API source. So we need some data from an API and we can show it to our end users with a microapp, easy to use. What I'm going to show you today is how to create a basic microapp. We'll be using the newsapi.org API. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a microapp which will show the user the top headlines, the top stories that are going on right now. And it will be searchable, and we're going to make a notification that when a new story pops in the headlines, it will give a notification to the user. So this video will be part of a series on microapps. So this is the first one, the basic microapp. So just taking an API, making something with it. And then we will move on to more advanced stuff like combining a logic app with a microapp. So first off, you of course need to have a Citrix environment in which you can build your microapp. Well, luckily, Citrix provides a free demo environment. So if we go to developer.cloud.com, we go to Platform Resources, then Citrix Workspace. Then here you can click on Get Your Test Instance, sign in with your Citrix account, or create a Citrix account and then get your own test instance. It's easy to do. Your test instance will be available for 30 days. And you can keep renewing it. So after 29 days, you can renew it and you get another 30 days. I've already done this and I'm now signed in to citrix.cloud.com and I'm signed in with my development account that I got as a free trial. So as you can see, I have 13 days left. If I would now renew my instance, I would have another 30 days left. So, when you sign in, you need to do one thing. You need to set up your workspace configuration. So you need to give your workspace a URL. So mine is christraining.cloud.com, and you need to set up authentication. So mine is authenticated to my Azure Active Directory. This way I can not only create a microapp, but I can also test it as a user. So I can sign in as an Azure Active Directory user. I can sign in to this URL and I can test the microapp that we're going to build. So after you set that up, you can click on the microapps, on Manage. And we're going to start building our microapp. So the first thing you need to do is click on Add Integration, and you can look through Citrix provided templates. So let's do that, but it's not the one that we want. So this is just a news integration. It's not there. So we need to build this from scratch. So we're going to click back, Add Integration, and we're going to choose Create a New Service Integration to your HTTP web service. So we're going to click that one. Give our integration a name. So we're going to make it headlines news. And now we need a base URL. So how do we get this base URL? Well, this base URL, this is your API that you want to connect. So first we need to get the API to which we can talk and get data. So for our integration, that we're building this tutorial, we're going to use the newsapi.org website. So if you go to the website newsapi.org, you can click on this button, get the API key, and you need to do this. You need to get a key. APIs usually want you to register when there are public APIs. They want you to register and get a key, and this key you will send during your requests to the data. This way the website that's providing the service can monitor who is getting this data, and they can usually also set a limit on how much data you can get from one API key. So for instance, they can say with this key you can do 100 queries a second. And usually it's like when you're gonna pay for a key, so you're gonna have a key on which you can pay per month. It's usually that you have a higher request rate, so you can do like 1,000 requests or 10,000 requests a second. So this is just get the free API key. So click on this button and register yourself and make sure you get that key. So I'm not, of course, going to show you guys my key, but I already did this part, and you need to do this part. Straightforward. Just click on get key, fill in some information, register your email address, and get a key. So when you have the key, then click on documentation, and there are a few things that we need to do here. So first off, we are going to endpoints, and endpoints are endpoints on the API are different URLs on which you can get different data. So you see they have 3 endpoints: top headlines, everything, so that's just all the news, and sources, so which sources are the news from. We are going to use for our demo the top headlines. So here, this website is really great because you immediately see how the API call should be done and what the result is that you should get. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy this first one, the headlines for the US. And I want you to, you can skip this step that we're gonna do now, but what I always do with APIs is I test them in a program that is called Postman. Postman is like a web browser, but without the visual aspect of it. So it allows you to send JSON data and to receive JSON data from an API on an easy way. So I'm opening my Postman, and what we're gonna do is this URL which I copied, I'm just gonna paste it here, and I'm gonna do a send. So here you immediately see that I get an error because my API key is not valid. As you can see, my API key that it's sending with it is just called API key. So this is wrong. Here you need to fill in your API key. So if you want to test this, copy your API key into here, paste it into here, then press send again. And then the result you should have is like this, so the news. If this is working for you in Postman, then we can easily get it to work with a Microapp. So really, this is just a tip. Try and use Postman when you're building microapps, and especially when we're gonna get to posting stuff and sending stuff with the JSON. This is just a great tool. So what you can also do is change your country code. So it's now US. For instance, if you're in the Netherlands, it's like NL. So you can type in NL and get the news from the Netherlands. So we can even change that kind of stuff. They do this with query parameters. So if you look in the URL, you can easily see that everything after the question mark are query parameters. And the parameters are built as follows. So this is the parameter name. This is the value. And then this symbol, the ampersand, means that the next parameter is coming with the value. And what Postman does is automatically what is here, it translates it to query parameters. A thing you have to know is that microapps, what we're going to build, the data endpoint, does not do this, and it does not support query parameters to be in the URI. They must be separate in query parameters, but I will show you that in a moment. So let's look again at this URL, and let's look at what we need to fill in here. So here we need to fill in a base URL. One thing that's handy to do is to fill in the URL that we just copied, but bring it back to a base. So for instance, just newsapi.org. Then every data endpoint we can do from here. We can even do the other data endpoints that are here because they use the same base. So we can also do one later on with everything in there. So it's easier to take the base URL to make it as small as possible. Here we need to set up our authentication. Again, we need to authenticate with a API key. So everything we want to do in this integration, we want to use it with our API key, or else we get this Postman message. So how do we do that? Well, that's easy. We fold out this menu, we click on API key, and now we need to fill in a name and a value. What you have to know is that a lot of websites and APIs have a different way of the name and how they want the value. So how do we figure this out? Well, if we just go back to the News API website and we go to the authentication, it will show us how we can authenticate. So you first, of course, have to have an API key, and if you're signed in, you will see your API key here, so you can copy it right from there. It says you can do it on 3 ways. You can create an HTTP header, you can create an authorization header and a bearer optional, or you can just use the query parameter API key. So we're going to copy this API key, and we're going to click here on, well, use the query parameter, name API key, and here we're going to fill in our key. Now we're going to click on add, and our integration will be added. So now the integration is set up. So everything we're going to do now, every data that we want to get from the API, will use our API key, because everything we'll do will always send that authorization that we just created with the API call. So the next step, of course, is to get that data. We do this by creating a data endpoint. So we're going to click on Add Data Endpoint. I'm going to give this endpoint a name, and I'm going to call it Headlines. And now we fill in the rest of the URL that comes after this to get to that headline. So we're going to go to this headlines, just copy everything until the base that we already have there. So, the first thing, API key, I just told you that it's now automatically added, always, because we did this in the main configuration, so we can remove this one. Secondly, Citrix Microapps do not support using query parameters here in the endpoint URI. We need to type them over into query parameters here, so we're going to create them here. Gonna just type them in, country. So the thing that Postman did automatically, I paste the URL in and it says, okay, these are the query parameters. Well, Citrix doesn't do that yet, so we need to type them over. And here we can choose our country. For instance, I can choose NL. And now we have to remove the query parameter from here. So just to repeat, this is our base URL we configured already. This base URL will always send our authentication because we configured that in the top level. This is now the point that we want to get the data, and we wanted to send an extra query called country, and we have chosen now the Netherlands. So if I'm going to click on test service, it says that it's status 200. What you need to know about APIs is status 200, which means okay. So that is everything is all right. I will click on few details in a moment, but just want to talk about the status. 404 404 is that it's not found, so something is wrong with your URL. 403 is that it's not authorized, so there's something wrong with your API key. So that are some easy statuses to know. Let's click on View Details, and here we see Dutch news. So this is correct. This is in the Dutch language, so most people of you would probably not understand it. So let's do it for the demo to US news. Test it again. View Details. And here you can see, hey, I get news from CNN and it is in English. So you can play around with this. Okay, so this is working correctly. I get the data. Now what we have to do is that what you have to know is Citrix Microapps. What it does, it caches the data for you in a table in the Microapp integration. So why does it do this? Well, you can imagine that every time anyone presses on get news and then it has to send the API key call, it is a bit of extra weight for the user. You see this API call is really quick. It only takes a few seconds, but you can imagine if you want to get like all the help desk tickets of the last 3 years, that synchronization can just, or at least that call can take up to a minute. And you don't want someone to click on the Microapp, show all calls, and then wait for a minute. So Citrix caches that data, and it does that within Citrix Cloud on Azure. So if you're gonna start using Microapps, always think about which data I want to share with Citrix and Azure. In this case, we're going to share news data, no problem. So I'm going to create on generate tables. And then now why do we need to generate a table? Well, what I told you, it's caching the data and it's caching that in a database that you're now going to create. So you're going to create a table within this integration, which is in a database. So you can click from the API, fetch JSON structure from the API, and it will just look at the API from, okay, how is this formatted, so that it can look at how do I need to save the data in the table. It automatically creates a name in this case, because it's just taking the name of the API. And what we need to do is one thing. If we look here at the beginning, we can see that the JSON starts with OK, and it shows the results. And then the articles are here. It's in a new object. So it's a JSON file, JSON body response within, and this means that the new object is starting. The thing that we want to show our users is not what are the results of how many headlines are there. Status okay, our users don't need that. Our users want the articles. So what we can do here is set the root path to articles. This way we will jump right into the articles when generating our table. So our table is created, and now we need to set a primary key. So what I already told you, of course, is that the Citrix will be caching this in a database, and this is the table within that database. So now we need to set a primary key on which the database can match data to a row in the table. So we're going to set this primary key, and we need to do this on something that is unique. So I'm going to click on URL, because this will always be unique to a unique news item. And we have to set this to string. The URL is a string text. So I'm going to save this, and we're going to click on add. So now the endpoint is created, which will load the data. Now we need to set a synchronization schedule on which we want to get the data. We do this by going back to our Microapp start, going to our Microapp, clicking on the 3 dots, clicking on synchronization, and here we set it. It will probably will stand on manual, but we're gonna set it to every minute. So every minute we're going to look if there is new news. We can even click here on play a symbol. This will force a synchronization and we can save it. If we now go back to our integration by clicking on the three dots and clicking on edit, and we go to the tables and we open the preview here, we can see which data it has gotten. So here we can see all the top headlines that are now cached on the Citrix platform. So from here we now have to, so we now have the data, but now we have to build the interactive part for the users, so the GUI that we're going to build. We do this by clicking again on the three dots of our integration and click on Add Microapp. This will create a blank microapp. Click on the three dots after the microapp and click on Edit. So a microapp has a few things. It has pages and notifications. Pages are things that people can view. And notifications are notifications that come into the activity feed. It will be more clear when we create them. So we're first going to start off by creating a page. We need two pages. We need one page on which we get a summary of the news articles that there are in a table. And we want to make the table searchable. So we're going to create that too. And the second thing we want is to create a details page. That when people click on an article in the table, they will be sent to a details page on which they can view all the details in the full news item. This detail page we also going to use that when a notification comes in from this is a new headline, people can click on the headline and go straight to the details page. So let's first create that details page. We're going to click on Add Page. We're going to click it on, we're going to call the details page, we're going to call it news story because this is just about one story. We're going to select detail, which table, the headlines table, and here we can select which fields we want to show the user. So we want to show the user the title, the source from, is it from CNN, NBC, the content of course, a description, an author, and the published at. So the publishing date. Okay. I'm going to click on Add, and this will create the field. You can see that some articles you get don't have the author filled in, so this will be empty. That is just something that can happen when using a public API. Sometimes not all data will be sent every time. One article will have an author, the other don't. So we can now easily arrange this in the way that we want to have this item. So let's have the title first. We then want the author, that's okay, the content, a description. Let's see, let's put that under the title, the publish date, and the source on which it's published. So this is a good details page. There is no save button when creating pages. So we just have to click back on pages and now the page is saved. Now we're gonna create the overview. So we're gonna call this page all news stories. We're gonna select the table. Here again the headlines table, and what do we want to see? We want to see the title of the news article, from which source it's coming, and the author who wrote it. So I want a table with those three fields. I'm gonna click Set Fields and I'm gonna click Add. This has now generated the table, and you can see that sometimes the author is filled in and sometimes it isn't. We want to do two things. First, I want to format this table a little bit different. So I'm going to go, click on the table, I'm going to go to columns, and then I'm going to take this one and just put it on top. So first want to have the title, then the source and the author as last. Okay, so this is our table. We also have created a details page. So I want that someone, when they click on the table, it goes to a details page. You can click here, use records related to details page. So we're gonna set this on. And now we have to do a action, go to page, news, story. So what we did here is we say link those items to a detail page. And here we set the action so that action view details come there, which actually goes to the page. So if we're gonna preview this, come on, it's coming. You can see here are the news items. And when I click on view details, it will go to the details page that we created. So that's cool. That is working. Another thing we want is a search field. So we're just going to take a text input and we're going to put it on top of this table. And we're going to call this field, we're going to call it search. That's it. What we're now going to do is click on the table and we're going to tell the table to filter itself on what you type in the search field. So we do this by setting a filter, set filter, click on add. Okay, filter the headlines. Okay, yeah, we only have one table, so that is the correct table. Which column? So let's filter on the title. And I would use contain. So if you just type in one word, it will look if that one word is in the title. And what value? Well, Citrix has something that is called component value. Sorry, I'm not natively English, so component value. And here you can select the components that are on your screen. So if you have multiple components, you will have multiple here, but we're gonna click on the search. So let's go through this again. So we're gonna search throughout, or we're gonna filter the headlines table. We're gonna look if the title contains anything you type into the search text input. And we're gonna save this. So let's give this a try by clicking on preview. And there is probably some news over Corona. So I'm going to tick in Corona. And yes, we get a news article about Corona. You can click, of course, on view details. So this is working. So we have our search field for going to it. So again, there is no save button for this page, so we're just going to click back to pages. So now what we want to do is give users these all news stories. We want to give that as an action, so as a button that they can push to view it and to search it and then to click through to the news story. So how do we do this? Well, we're going to go to properties. And here we have the properties of our micro app. So the app name, we're gonna call this top headlines. We can give it a description. This will show you the top news headlines. We can give it even an icon. So let's look for an icon that is fitting to our micro app. So in this case, well, it's about headlines and news. So maybe we will do a bell, that icon. And here we can choose to enable this as an action. So by enabling this, this will generate the button that users can use to click on something. And then you can choose to, when they click to it, what should they go to? So that's all news or news stories. So of course we want to have this on all news. So that is the table that we created. I'm gonna save this. So I also told we want to do a notification when there is new news. So we're gonna go to notification, click on add notification. Then we choose new record. We're gonna call this one new news, or let's do new headline. That's more in line. Gonna click which table it wanna check for a new record. So of course the headlines table. This is the cached data from the integration. We're gonna click on add. And here we can configure our notification. So now we need to configure what we want to show people in the notification. So we can set a notification icon. So we can select an icon. These are the same icons that we could select last time. We're gonna give it a bell with a message. That's okay. We're gonna give a title. You can type a title here, like there is a new headline, and it will automatically show you a preview of the notification. Well, it is also possible to use variables. So I'm gonna click on variables, and I can click, well, select out of our table the title of the news article. So now our notification will have the title of the news article in it. And we can use in the body also variables, and here we can place the description. So this gives a nice notification, which is dynamic. We can also choose to add an image. Well, some news articles with the newsapi.org use an image, and it's transferred to you with the image URL. So this is also in the table, so we can use this and insert it. As you can see, this article has a image with it, so our notification now also includes a nice little image. So in the next section we can set target page. This means what happens when people click on the notification. Well, we created that detailed page, so the news story. So we're going to do this, and there is some automatic logic behind this in the Microapp that it will automatically show that detailed page. So we created a random detailed page, but it will automatically link the notification to the detailed page. So it's not when you click on the notification you see the detailed page from a different news article, you will see it from that news article. So it automatically links those two together. Here we can set who will get the notification, so all subscribers. So Microapps use subscribers, and you can then select that only a few users. So you can then select that only a few users which get the Microapp. Then a subset of those users can get the notification. You can click on a user and you can select that user. We're just going to say that all subscribers to this Microapp will get the notification. You can even add some conditions that when it is triggered and shown within the user, we're not going to touch those at the moment. And expiration. So here you can say that when the underlying record is no longer available. This is one that is handy that you can put on. What does it mean? Well, for instance, you can imagine that a news headline, that every few minutes there is a new headline. So this would mean that every few minutes you will get a notification. That is what we're creating now. It's probably every 15 to 30 minutes there's a new headline or something. So users will get this notification. So that is what we're choosing to do. What this does is when you're, for instance, on holiday for a week, it would mean that you are gonna build up your notifications. So your notifications, let's say that every 30 minutes there is a new news article, new headline, and this will mean that you will get like 2 notifications an hour. So you can imagine that when you are out of the office for and out of your workplace for a week, you can get like 100 notifications. With this, it will remove the notification if the headline is no longer in the table. So the table is doing a full synchronization every time. So every time it's looking, are there new headlines? And if there are headlines in there that are no longer, that are cached in Citrix, but they are no longer in the API, Citrix will remove them from the cache. So when that is removed, the notification for the users will be removed. So I think that that is a really handy feature for this kind of notifications. So we're now going to scroll back up to the top and click on Save. And this has saved our notification. There's one thing that we also need to do is when do we want this notification to go out? What you can do is run Alt, that you click that here, and then the notification is sent to the users when there is a new news item. What you also can do is click here and click on Edit the notification and set this. It will automatically run the notification after a data sync. So every minute it is looking for new headlines. And this will mean that when there is a new headline after the synchronization, so after that minute, it will automatically generate this notification and it will send the notification in the next notification run that it automatically does. So this is also a really handy feature to always put on. So I'm going to save it and I can click Run All. So then it will be running and it will be sending all the notifications. But we don't have subscribers yet, so nobody will get this at the moment. To set subscribers, I'm going to go back to Microapps. And I'm going to go back to the top headlines. And here I'm going to click on subscriptions, sorry. And here I can search for people that I want to give this microapp. So I'm going to put this on my test user, which I have in Azure. Test user 1 and 2, they're both getting it. And we are done at the administrative level. So let me check as a user if everything is working correctly. So what I'm going to do is go to my Citrix portal. It will ask me to sign in with a user. So let me sign in with the correct one. Fill in my password. And now I'm in my Citrix Workspace. So I'm going to go to Actions. And here we have our own created microapp called Top Headlines. So when I click on this, it gives me an error. Sometimes it happens with new actions. But hey, the second time it works. So yeah, I'm going to leave this in again because sometimes this does happen with this new product. But it does work. I see all the news articles that are in there now. I can click on details. I get a nice details page. And we can even search throughout the news items that are there. Well, of course, there are no new news items yet, so I don't have a notification yet. But when there is a new news item, then here in my activity feed, I will get a notification that there is something new. So you can check that out for yourself by just waiting for a new news item. So this is it. This is what we built. This is our basic microapp. So I show you a few things. I showed you that you need a base URL, so you need somewhere that the data is coming from, an API. I showed you how you can configure API security, basic security with the API key. I showed you how to create a table, a details page, a notification, and how you can make it searchable. And I hope this will inspire you into building some great micro apps. Look into your own SaaS applications if they have APIs. So as I said before, this will be a series. So this was the first one, the basic one. The next one will be, we're gonna do a little bit more advanced stuff and will be also faster. So some things that we covered today, we're just gonna click through them really fast. And it will be out in a couple of weeks. For now, I hope again that you find this inspiring and that you create something nice with it. And you can always contact me in the comments if you have another question about this, or just leave in the comments something that you built, a demo or something. I'm really curious. So yeah, for now I want to wish you good luck and bye.